Welcome back to Book Break. In today's video we are going back to a topic that we have learned from the comments you guys just can't get enough of, and I'm right there with you, and that is ancient myth retellings from the ancient Greeks and beyond. So I have got a stack here of book recommendations that are myth retellings of mythologies from all around the world. So starting with the Greeks, I have here 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. This is a feminist retelling of the Iliad, which is a story famously told by Homer but that had been passed down through the generations before that. So in the Iliad we get to learn about so many of the Greek gods and goddesses and the role that they played in this epic war between the Greeks and the Trojans, which all started when one goddess promised the Prince of Troy that he could marry the most beautiful woman in the world. The problem being, she was already married. That woman was Helen of Troy, also known as the face who launched 1,000 ships, because when Paris, the Prince of Troy, ran away with her, the Greeks declared war, and this war went on for 10 years. So in the Iliad you get so many different stories, and in 1,000 Ships we get to hear these stories over again but from the women's perspectives. Next I've got Children of Blood and Bone by Toni Adeyemi. So Toni Adeyemi was inspired to write this after learning about the Orisha, deities that are a strong part of West African mythology but also still worshipped as part of living tradition today. So in this book, Adeyemi has taken some of the real Orisha clans but then used her own creative license to create this whole amazing world, and this story about a girl called Zili who has magical powers that she has to hide after a cruel king outlawed magic. But Zili is determined to restore magic to her land. So it's a really original, brand new story that weaves in the original mythology in really creative ways. Then for something a bit different, I've got a horror story recommendation, The Good House by Tanana. So in here you will find references to Haitian voodoo and deities like Papa Legba, which again are part of a really strong mythology, but also still part of a living religion. So The Good House is about the legacy of a family who upset these deities, and then many generations later we find acts of violence springing up in the community around the Good House where this family lived. And the author really does dive into the real belief system behind voodoo, so you'll learn a lot from it. I thought it was absolutely terrifying, but then again I'm a wimp, so you might not find it too scary, but it's also this really moving story about the family and the relationships between these characters, as well as being about racism and prejudice as well. Next, Mulan is a figure that a lot of people know from the Disney movie, but before that she was a Chinese legend that dates all the way back to the 4th century, a woman who disguised herself as a man and served in the army in her father's place. And I've got a really lovely children's book here that introduces readers to this story for the first time, with beautiful illustrations by Yi Xuan Wu, and it's really interactive and good fun. The Nightjar by Deborah Hewitt is inspired by Finnish mythology of the soul bird that carries souls to the land of the dead, Tuonela. So this book is set in an alternate London called the Rookery, and it's about a girl who all her life has been haunted by these visions of birds, and one day a mysterious stranger arrives at her door and tells her that what she's been seeing are these nightjars, the birds that guard our souls, but it's unclear if we can really trust this man or not. So it's a really fast-paced, magical story that borrows a lot from Finnish mythology but creates a whole new magic system of its own. Next I've got The Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee Diwakaruni, which is based on the Mahabharata, an ancient Indian epic about two branches of a family embroiled in a war. The Palace of Illusions is a retelling of this story through the eyes of Panchali, who was the wife of the brothers in the original story. Yes, I didn't say that wrong, she was the wife of all of them. They took turns 1 year at a time. So this book is a combination of myth and magic and history and goes through this woman's life. Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas is a YA novel about a trans boy trying to prove his gender to his very traditional Latinx family and accidentally summoning a ghost he can't get rid of. So this one draws on Mayan mythology and really goes into the history and culture behind Day of the Dead and a lot of the traditions there. And it's also a romance that involves a ghost, so that's fun. My next book is The Rainbow Serpent by Dick Ruffsey. So the Rainbow Serpent is a deity from Aboriginal Australian religion. It's often seen as the creator god, and this is actually one of the oldest continuing religious beliefs in the world. So Dick Ruffsey was an Aboriginal Australian artist from the Lardil language group who was very prominently involved in the revival of Lardil culture, and he created several picture books retelling Aboriginal stories for children, and one of the best known of these is The Rainbow Serpent. For a classic fantasy that actually came out the same year as Lord of the Rings, but is nowhere near as well known, you could read The Broken Sword by Poul Anderson. So this one is about a Viking who kills the family of a Saxon witch, and as punishment his son is stolen from him by the elves and replaced with a non-human changeling. And there ends up being this big battle between the son and the changeling, so this is a really epic fantasy with a magic sword called a Tearfing, and everyone loves books with a magic sword. And then finally, a book to combine many of those and beyond, there is Love in Colour by Bolu Babalola, which retells love stories taken from mythology, from West Africa to ancient Greece to the Middle East. Some of them are brought into present day, some of them are historical, but it's this really diverse expression of love in many forms in different cultures. So really a book that will make you smile. Before I wrap up, I wanted to quickly mention 3 2021 releases for you to get excited about. I might have to do a follow-up of this video when those books are out so we can talk about them properly, but just to get you excited, there is going to be a book coming next year called How to Be a Hero by Kat Weldon, which is going to be a children's book about Norse gods and Viking heroes. Sister Song by Lucy Holland is going to be a retelling of a British folk tale about 2 jealous sisters, but this time told from the perspective of a third sibling. And Rumesa by Radia Hafiza is going to be a retelling of a few fairy tales from a Bengali English perspective. So do leave a comment letting us know which of those you are most excited about. And as always, I would love to hear any more of your recommendations on this theme. I will link a playlist here of all our videos about ancient mythology. We've done quite a few now, and we'll just keep them coming because you always seem to love them. And we'll see you next time.